A Connecticut woman gets a phone bill for $42,000 and most of the calls weren't even hers.
The bill was knocked down to $4,200, but where did all those charges come from? News 8 investigator Aaron Logan went looking for answers.
We had to see this 56-page bill to believe it. The woman asked that we not show her face because she's afraid of her ex. She says all she's wanted for 2 years is to break ties with him on this bill, but feels Verizon was giving her a hard time. So she asked the News 8 investigators for help. 2 cell phone numbers on one bill equals one big mess for this woman.
He's been calling in why these bills were rolling with promise to pay, promise to pay. Throw you $1,000, keep the phone lines on.
Unfortunately, the bill is in Jane's name. That's not her real name, but we'll use it to protect her identity at her request. She's stuck with this Verizon bill for $42,427.21 and a letter from a collections agency.
Who's got $42,000 sitting for a phone bill?
Jane says this goes back a number of years when an ex-friend borrowed her phone and then asked to keep that phone number. In exchange, he would pay the entire bill. A pretty good deal for Jane. All was well until about 2 years ago when the ex racked up a $6,000 bill. She says she called Verizon repeatedly begging to get the ex off that bill. Verizon just said,
I needed either to close it out and pay the extreme amount that was sitting on this bill. What they had told me was I needed to have him come into Verizon with me, put his name on the bill for me to take my name off of it.
Easier said than done. From the phone bill records, she was able to track his calls. California, United Kingdom, France, Italy, and Africa. The bill was jumping up and up by the thousands, but there was one call the ex wouldn't take. Jane's.
Not once did Verizon pick up and say, well, geez, this isn't really his bill.
So she called Verizon's customer service to say, why wasn't I, Jane, getting text alerts about the international usage and over-the-top monthly bills when the account is in my name?
I guess basically they were texting him and telling him to that phone, not to me.
We contacted Verizon to get some answers. We asked if all lines on the same bill get text alerts or just the primary one. Also, how many promises to pay are customers allowed? They responded by saying they work with their customers on a case-by-case basis. Jane says it turns out he convinced Verizon he was her husband and managed the account.
He's basically stealing from her.
Attorney Lance Coughlin, a former police officer, advises that this woman put up a fight, most importantly, to save her credit.
The fact that he did misrepresent himself, even to go as far as to change his last name, that could potentially result in some type of criminal impersonation charge because it wasn't his last name. He didn't have authority to keep the account open. So now that I think about it, that could also incorporate a larceny charge as well.
Shortly after we started working on this story, Jane received a phone call from Verizon's fraud department. Within 1 week, they were able to strike a deal. That $42,000 bill has now been reduced to $4,200 to be paid within 2 years. For the News 8 investigators, I'm Aaron Logan reporting.
Earlier today, we received the latest statement from Verizon saying, quote, as the account owner, Jane was reminded multiple times that she could remove anybody from her account at any time for any reason. Jane repeatedly declined to remove an individual from her account, as was her choice, which we, of course, respected.